呢條係我2023年最中意嘅題目嚟嘅。2023年 Paper 1B 第7條咧就係講生態系統嘅。咁題目就問啦，咁啊喺近期嘅研究顯示啦，喺一啲本地嘅區域咧，我哋就發現到一個叫做溫室蟬嘅外來物種喎。咁啊又引起一啲關注啦。究竟啦呢啲溫室蟬咧，其實係有冇機會去威脅到、要挾到本地嘅一啲瀕臨絕種嘅物種，例如啦盧文氏樹蛙咧，你又係青蛙，我又係青蛙，盧文氏小樹蛙會唔會受威脅咧？咁 Part A 咧就俾咗一個表格，我哋咧就講翻啦盧文氏樹蛙同埋溫室蟬之間嘅比較，佢哋嘅大細比較啦、繁殖地點同埋生境啦，同埋啦佢哋食啲咩嘅食物啦。題目就叫我哋去比較下呢兩款青蛙物種嘅生態位啦，就喺翻呢個表格入面咧，就揾兩個嘅證據去支持翻啦。喂，原來呢隻溫室蟬咧係有機會威脅到盧文氏樹蛙嘅喎，然後解釋你嘅答案。咁呢條題目咧就當然考翻我哋數據分析啦，然後啦就考翻我哋有關於競爭同埋生態位嘅概念啦。咩係生態位啊？每個群落咧唔同物種都分別佔據咗獨特嘅生態位。物種嘅生態位係由佢哋生存所需嘅溫度範圍啦、食物種類啦同埋所佔空間去決定嘅。咁如果兩個物種喺同一空間佔據同一個生態位，亦即係生態位重疊嘅話咧，咁生態系統咧亦都唔能夠維持穩定嘅。咁所以當我哋去睇翻個表格嘅時候咧，我哋就揾翻一啲有關於佢哋住邊度啊、食啲乜嘢啊、佢哋嘅大細做個理解啦。因為呢一隻樹蛙嘅大細咧係牽涉咗佢哋所佔嘅空間噶嘛，係咪？咁啊整個集題應假咧，咁我哋啦3分點樣分配咧？題目叫我哋講2個證據啊嘛，咁即係話啦，每一個證據就係1分啦。我哋就要喺翻呢個表格入面啦，去界定翻究竟呢兩隻青蛙嘅物種係咪真係有生態位重疊 overlapping niche 嘅情況咧？第一啦，佢哋個大細係差唔多嘅。咁有一個概念咧，想提翻大家，就係有同學咧，當佢寫答案嘅時候咧，就話啦，溫室蟬咧係比起盧文氏樹蛙為之大。嗱，實質咧，你會發現啦，溫室蟬咧係1.2 cm 至3 cm， 而盧文氏樹蛙咧係1.5 cm 至2.5 cm。咁即係話最大嗰隻嘅溫室蟬，的確係大過盧文氏樹蛙嘅最大隻嗰隻嘅。不過啦，其實溫室蟬要細嘅話，真係細過盧文氏樹蛙啊嘛，所以我哋係唔能夠一概而論話溫室蟬咧係大隻過盧文氏樹蛙嘅，所以我哋話佢哋咧個大細相若就已經得啦。第二啦，就係佢哋住嘅地方、繁殖嘅地方都係好相近啦，都係森林地同埋灌木叢啦。第三咧，佢哋都係攝食細嘅昆蟲啦。咁當我哋綜合咗2個證據之後咧，我哋就要去解釋一下點解呢2個證據係可以支持到呢個說法咯。個說法就係溫室蟬係有機會為盧文氏樹蛙帶嚟威脅嘅。呢部分咧就考翻我哋有關於競爭嘅概念啦，同埋啦一個相似嘅生態位啦。咁啊，根據翻佢哋住嘅地方啦、大細啦、食嘅嘢食啦，就顯示咗佢哋嘅生態位咧其實非常之相似，甚至乎係重疊。即係佢哋之間咧，可能存在住一個激烈嘅競爭。你唔用 keen competition， 你可以用 vigorous 嘅 competition。咁所以啦，溫室蟬咧係可能威脅到盧文氏樹蛙嘅。而仲有一樣特別嘅嘢，我想提大家就係喺呢條題目佢就話啦，溫室蟬係威脅到盧文氏樹蛙。其實呢條題目可以反轉嚟問你，就係話啦，咦，而家咧有啲人咧想引入呢個溫室蟬喺香港睇下養唔養到佢喎。喂，成唔成功㗎？有人就話咧，唔係㗎，盧文氏樹蛙咧，其實係會威脅翻呢個溫室蟬㗎，係咪真㗎呢個説法？咁又叫你揾翻2個證據咧，去支持呢個説法，其實都得㗎喎。因為你諗下啦，佢哋兩者係競爭㗎嘛，而喺呢條題目當中，邊個贏邊個輸都冇講到。如果溫室蟬係贏嘅，咪即係話係溫室蟬威脅到盧文氏樹蛙咯。咁如果係盧文氏樹蛙贏嘅話，咪即係話呢款外來物種，我想將佢擺喺香港度養，都唔係一件容易嘅事咯，係咪啊？咁過往啦都有唔少題目講生態位啦，即使係今年嘅2023年嘅 MC 咧， 其實問下都可以問下生態位嘅。所以啦，大家快啲睇下片溫下書啦噃。跟住去到拍 B 啦，呢幅地圖咧就顯示咗呢兩款青蛙物種喺香港嘅分佈啦。黑色點點嘅咧就係盧文氏樹蛙嘅生境，而呢個正方形咧就係我哋喺香港做過研究啊嘛，有調查啊嘛，就喺呢啲正方形嘅地方咧就揾到呢個溫室蟬嘅。咁而家題目就問啦，要我哋去解釋一下以上嘅呢個資料。係唔能夠證實得到盧文氏樹蛙佢真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅喎。咁呢條題目啦，其實都係考翻我哋嘅數據分析啦。你見到啊，特登圈住咗一點嘅，就係正方框同埋黑點 overlap 嘅地方，就係兩款青蛙物種共同生存嘅生境啦。咁有呢一句又如何呢？咁我哋呢條題目嘅思考邏輯就係呢幅圖究竟有啲咩嘅限制，從而就令到佢唔能夠話俾我哋聽，唔能夠推論得到、支持得到盧文氏樹蛙真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅，又或者根本就講唔到佢哋係咪真係互相競爭緊呢？咁究竟點解啊？其實個限制就係講緊呢幅圖。哇，有好多唔同嘅生境啦，俾我哋去揾得到嘅。但係原來得咁少嘅地方，呢兩款青蛙係重疊嘅咋。咁即係話啦，其實佢哋嘅競爭都唔係顯得咁激烈啫。咁我又從何得知佢哋真係競爭激烈？又從何得知盧文氏樹蛙真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅呢？又或者啦，退一萬步嚟講，係佢哋一齊住。但係呢幅圖佢又顯示唔到俾你睇，究竟邊種青蛙係能夠霸佔到嗰個地方喎？我淨係知道佢哋一齊住啫嘛。喺呢度啦，原來咧有2000隻嘅盧文氏樹蛙，同埋啦有100隻嘅溫室蟬。喂，好少喎！喂，盧文氏樹蛙都仲係佔多數喎，都未受威脅喎。咁所以咧，原來呢幅圖都欠缺咗一個好緊要嘅資料，就係有幾多青蛙咧？跟住啦，去到 Part C 啦。咁根據 Part B 啦，喂，你呢個研究方法咧有限制喎，咁所以啦 Part C 就問翻，究竟我哋可以點樣收集一啲數據，從而去顯示翻究竟盧文氏樹蛙係咪真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅啊？其實呢3條題目咧 A、B、C 咧嗰個尾巴係一樣咁滯嘅。喂，究竟盧文氏樹蛙係咪真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅？呢條題目就係講緊設計實驗啦。我哋又嚟睇下個思考鷹架咯。對於設計實驗嘅題目呢，我哋唔陌生㗎。咁之前就叫你設計實驗，咁今次就叫你喂諗下計點樣收集數據。咁我哋嘅第一步咪要講下係咯，收集數據點樣收集數據呢？用咩嘅儀器呢？點樣做呢？做乜嘢呢？有咩步驟呢？咁我哋就要去諗下啦。量度嘅時候有啲咩關鍵嘅因素呢？第一就係呢兩款青蛙要係住喺同一個生境啦。而佢哋亦都要喺同一個生境係一齊生存一段時間啦。然後我哋要量度嘅呢，就係量度翻呢兩款青蛙物種嘅群落嘅大細變化啦，或者佢哋嘅數量變化嘅。所以當我哋要收集數據嘅時候，你就要留意啦。我哋要喺一個溫室蟬同埋盧文氏樹蛙重疊嘅地區，佢哋都係生存喺嗰個地方嘅，從而記錄翻呢兩款青蛙物種喺一段時間入面嘅數目變化。我哋唔係淨係睇佢嘅數量，1000隻、2000隻，係睇下佢哋可能1個月、3個月、5個月之後佢哋嘅數量變化。咁除咗揾翻佢哋一啲重疊嘅生境啦，亦都可以將佢哋置於一個模擬嘅生境，即係都係一齊住，然後記錄翻呢兩種青蛙物種喺一段時間入面嘅數目變化。咁而家收集咗數據啦，然後就要睇下咯，喂，顯唔顯示得到盧文氏樹蛙係真正受到溫室蟬嘅威脅啊？咁呢個就係題目嘅第2部分啦，數據分析同埋得出結論啦。咁所以我哋就要諗下收集數據嘅時候，實質我哋會有啲咩嘅觀察呢？有啲咩嘅結果呢？而呢啲觀察、呢啲結果同我哋嘅探究目的有乜關係呢？個探究目的就係究竟盧文氏樹蛙係咪真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅啊嘛？係咪？所以我哋就去諗下，如果盧文氏樹蛙真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅嘅話，究竟會有啲咩嘅結果呢？原來個結果就係啦，當溫室蟬嘅數目上升，而盧文氏樹蛙嘅數目下降，喂，即係呢個競爭邊個贏啊？咪溫室蟬贏咗咯。所以就暗示得到呢。原來啦，溫室蟬係真係對盧文氏樹蛙構成威脅啦。又或者如果個題目 反轉咗嚟問，好似我頭先咁樣講啦，有人想將溫室禪引入香港，但係有另一啲人就話啦，喂，好難㗎，因為盧文氏樹蛙係會威脅到溫室禪㗎。咁個結果，我又點樣可以肯定啱定錯啊？就係我將佢哋養喺同一個地方啦，養一段時間，量度下佢哋嗰個數量嘅改變。如果我哋發現盧文氏樹蛙數量係上升，而溫室禪嘅數量係下降嘅話，咁即係有機會係溫室禪受到盧文氏樹蛙嘅威脅咯。明明個題目可以點樣玩法啊？個數據係一線之差㗎咋。過往咧有好多題目咧，都係叫你設計實驗啊，去話俾我聽點樣收集數據啊，然後再分析個數據得出結論咧，有好多題目嘅。咁啊，快手睇下片，溫下書咯噃。好，然後啦，再提多一樣咧，就係有關於常見錯誤啦。測試咧有好多同學咧答案嘅時候咧，總係有少少甩漏嘅。咁啊，提一提大家就唔好犯呢啲錯咯。第一啦，就係唔公平嘅比較。部分嘅同學咧就冇講到要將呢兩款青蛙物種擺喺同一個生境做研究，佢哋咧可能就只係喺 A 地方就量度盧文氏樹蛙嘅數量，喺 B 地方就淨係量度溫室禪嘅數量，然後比較兩個青蛙物種嘅數量，跟住啦就話啊係啦，如果溫室禪多啲咧，就代表住咧盧文氏樹蛙受威脅啦。錯，因為咁樣係唔公平。因為啦，喺兩個唔同地方，我哋嘅環境因素，我哋嘅溫度啊、濕度啊、風速啊、水流啊，都可以唔同啊嘛。你係控制唔到啊嘛。咁所以啦，就算你比較到個數字，都係得出唔到一個確實嘅結論嘅。第二啦，就係唔真確嘅測量啦，就係佢哋咧係喺同一個地方去比較翻呢兩款青蛙物種嘅數量啫。但係佢哋冇留意到呢兩款青蛙應該係喺呢個地方一齊生存一段時間，從而再睇下佢哋嘅數量改變。佢哋就淨係好似影相咁，chop 影咗張相，喺呢一個時刻，盧文氏樹蛙有100隻，同一時間溫室禪有200隻，然後啦就當有結論噶咯。但係佢哋應該要做嘅，應該係講緊1個月之後、2個月之後、3個月之後，翻嚟呢個地方，再去睇一睇呢兩款青蛙物種嘅數量變化，咁先能夠做到一個比較嘅。然後啦，就係不適當嘅工具啦。有啲同學咧就話啦，我要收集數據啊嘛，咁咪數咯。佢哋亦都好好嘅，想辦法去話啦，喂，我真係識啲嘢㗎，我用樣方去數一個青蛙。但係問題，樣方你擺個框框落去，隻青蛙識跳識喐噶嘛？量度植物或者一啲喐得好慢嘅動物咧都可以嘅，但係青蛙佢一跳就已經有機會離開咗個樣方啦。咁你點樣數佢咧？係咪？咁你話樣方唔得啊嘛，梁 Sir。喂，咁究竟我用咩辦法去做咗呢個青蛙嘅採樣咧？例如啦，我哋用抄網喺個水度咧掃撈啲青蛙，跟住數下又得。第二啦，就係直接睇直接數啦。第三咧就係 call survey， 即係佢哋會叫噶嘛，呱。咁我哋又睇下啦，哇，究竟有幾多隻唔同嘅呱聲咧？嗱，留意下青蛙叫係有分別噶。而第四同第五咧都好相近嘅，都係用個抄網啦，去撈下嗰啲青蛙卵啦，同埋啦去撈下啲蝌蚪啦，跟住數下幾多隻咯。因為佢哋大隻咗，順利成長嘅話，佢哋都會變成青蛙噶嘛，係咪？咁我哋咪可以數算得到咯。好，又嚟到一點出發啦。今次咧就由青蛙物種去問起啦。呢個題目咧其實係好容易走去問物種形成噶。有人就話啦，原來溫室禪咧同埋盧文氏樹蛙咧，佢哋係有共同祖先噶。但係咧有啲事發生咗，就令到佢哋受隔離啦。佢呢個隔離可以咩嘅隔離咧？例如啦，青蛙叫啦，佢哋嘅求偶方法唔同咗啦，咁咪導致到啦你咁叫嘅，我唔同你交配啦。咁從而啦就慢慢令到佢哋就各有各嘅交配啦，係咪？我睇翻過往呢幾段片去學識翻點樣答物種形成嘅題目咯。然後啦，呢個題目咧就考翻我哋兩大個概念啦。第一就係生態位，第二就係科學探究。先解決咗生態位先啦。咁生態嘅互動啦，尤其是競爭啦，競爭爭啲乜嘢嘢啊？對於一隻生物，佢有兩大個好簡單嘅要求，一個係 fit，一個係 breed。兩個都係 EED 行尾嘅，好易記嘅咋。如果你用英文學咧，其實好簡單，一個 fit，一個 breed。 然後咧就去到科學探究啦。今次呢條題目咧就有唔同嘅假説啦，例如啦，溫室蟬係咪真係會為盧文氏樹蛙帶嚟威脅呢？咁我哋咪設計實驗，獲得數據，分析數據，呢個就係生態研習啦。過往都有好多題目係講生態研習嘅，快啲睇下片，溫下書啦。然後咧就去到科學本質咯。對於研究呢個生態系統啦，係符合咗邊兩個科學嘅本質呢？跟住啦，又解釋下你嘅答案啦。想試下嘅咧就喺翻留言區嗰度答啦，睇下你嘅 concept 清唔清咯。呢條題目綜合嚟講咧就係講保育啦。哇！我真係好驚盧文氏樹蛙咧受到溫室蟬嘅威脅，又或者啦，我真係好想喺香港養多啲溫室蟬去保育佢。如果一個題目同佢講啦，原來咧溫室蟬咧都係瀕臨絕種㗎，我哋想喺香港保育佢啊，咁又得唔得呢？其實都係有唔同可能性㗎嘛，係咪？咁當中啦，我哋要考慮到嘅就係生物多樣性啦。第二啦，就係有咩方法咯，例如啦，圈養啦、人工繁殖啦、生境保育啦，呢啲概念為乜嘢啊？都係為咗餵食同繁殖 ，feed and breed。所以啦，整個生態系統，我哋其中一部分就真係要學下，究竟啲生物喺個生境度做乜啫？咪就係揾嘢食同埋繁殖啫嘛，係咪？好，咁講完一點出發呢，其實呢條題目呢，仲有多一樣嘢我想講嘅，就係科學本質啊。咁右手邊俾晒咁多款嘅科學本質嚟噶啦。而今次我想講嘅就係呢條題目係好特殊嘅，因為佢 A、B、C 三 part 正正就顯示咗正反合三個嘅科學探究概念。正嘅概念就係 part A， 喂，溫室蟬呢，其實真係有機會威脅到嗰個盧文氏樹蛙噶。有冇啲咩證據可以講俾我聽啊？然後 part B 咧就反咯，喂，根據翻嗰個數據咧，嗰個地圖啊，假假地喎，唔係咁 firm 喎，係咪真係顯示得到盧文氏樹蛙真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅㗎？好似唔係咁得喎。然後 part C 就係合啦。究竟有咩辦法幫我去證實得到盧文氏樹蛙真係受到溫室蟬嘅威脅呢？咁勞煩你幫我收集下數據啦。究竟呢個假説係啱定係錯啦？就係正反合，係一條好好嘅題目嚟嘅。呢條係我2023年最中意嘅題目嚟嘅。過往呢，我哋都有唔同嘅長題目呢，係考緊類似嘅嘢嘅。例如啦，食瘦肉可以減肥，喂，得唔得㗎？又話啦，原來食瘦肉有冇啲咩唔好處㗎？正反合。去到同卵相生咯，喂，你哋基因唔係一樣嘅咩？你有 cancer， 你都即刻有 cancer 噶啦，點解你哋生 cancer 嘅年紀會唔同嘅？正反合又嚟啦，又考下你，喂，通淋巴咧係咪真係可以減肥噶？正反合係唔係呢？所以咧，科學探究嘅題目咧係大家一定要係熟習下嘅。緊嘅呢一科生物科係理科嚟噶嘛，我哋緊要學科學探究嘅精神啦，係咪？咁其次啦，答翻頭先嗰條問題啊，科學本質呢度我俾晒你啦。對於今次呢個研究青蛙嘅生態研習，佢符合咗啲乜嘢嘅科學本質呢？ 223 Paper 1B Question 7 is about ecosystem. The question is asking the greenhouse frog is a foreign species which is now found in many local areas according to a recent survey. And there is a concern that these greenhouse frogs may threaten a local endangered species, Romance tree frog. And in the part A, the table provided some information about the two frog species, including their size, breeding site and habitat, and the food. And by comparing the ecological niche of the two frog species, give two pieces of evidence that support the possibility of the greenhouse frog posing a threat to the Romance tree frog, and explain your answer. This question surely is checking us the data analysis skills. And then it's also checking us the concept about the ecological niche and the competition. What is it about? It means that in a habitat, each species occupy a specific niche. The niche of a species is determined by the temperature range in which the organism live, and the types of food they eat, and the space they occupy. And the populations of two species cannot exist stably if they occupy the same niche. Let's talk about the scaffolding. This question, there are 3 marks. And for these 3 marks, 2 marks for the evidence and 1 marks for the explanation. So for the first 2 marks, we need to identify the overlapping niche from the information as evidence. So we can see that they have a similar body size, and there is one common understanding is that the green frog is bigger than the Roman tree frog. So you may think that, oh, the biggest greenhouse frog is 3 cm long, 3 cm big, and then it's a bit bigger than the Roman tree frog. But in fact, you know that, oh, there are also very small greenhouse frog, only 1.2 cm. Is a bit smaller than the 1.5 cm Roman tree frog. So we know that some greenhouse frog is smaller than the Roman tree frog. So we can just say that they have similar body size. And then there is some degree of overlap in their habitat, woodland and the shrubland. And both of them also feed on small insects. So after we pick up the suitable evidence, we need to recall the concept of competition resulting from the similar ecological niche. This shows that their ecological niche are similar or even overlapping. There may be keen competition or vigorous competition between them. Therefore, greenhouse frog may threaten the Roman tree frog. So you can see that there were different types of questions about the ecological niche. So watch the video and do revision. And then in part B, we can see this map. It shows the distribution of 2 frog species in Hong Kong. So for the dot, it represents the habitat of the Roman tree frog. And for the square, it means that the location where greenhouse frog were spotted in the survey. So for part B, it asks us to suggest why the information cannot prove that Roman tree frog is facing a real threat from the greenhouse frog. So this question is also checking us the data analysis skills. So you can see that there is only one spot to show that the habitat of the Roman tree frog and the greenhouse frog is overlapping. So any limitation of the information to prove that these 2 frog species are really competing with each other. So in this map, we know that the greenhouse frog has not yet been found in the natural range of the Roman tree frog, or we can say that the distribution of the 2 frog species has a very little overlap. And for this map, it also lacks a crucial information. It's about the abundance, the number, the population size of the 2 frogs. So for this map, I just know that yes, where are they living? I know that, but how many of them are living in that particular area? I don't know. I have no idea. So the abundance of these 2 frog species is the missing key information. And after part A and B, we still don't know that if the Roman tree frog is facing a real threat from the greenhouse frog. Therefore, we have part C. Suggest how you could collect data to show if Roman tree frog are facing a real threat from greenhouse frogs. So this question is checking us the experiment design. So for the whole scaffolding, we need to know that first step, we need to tell how can we collect the data. And second step is that after we collect the data, how can we analyze the data and draw conclusion, 2 marks. So for the first part, data collection, what to use, any apparatus we need to use, how to do, the steps, the method. And then the critical factors for the measurement is that to make sure that both of the frog species, they are living together in the same habitat. And they live together for a certain period of time. And then we need to measure the change of the population size or number of the frogs. Therefore, we cannot just say that we record the number of the greenhouse frog and Roman frog in the area. The area should be where the habitat overlap for a period of time. Or we put these 2 types of frog species in a simulated habitat. Make sure they live together for a period of time. And after that, for the data analysis, we need to think about any observation and the results related to the aim of investigation. The aim of the investigation is that I want to know if the Roman tree frog are facing a real threat from the greenhouse frog. So any possible result, it can show Roman tree frog are really facing the threat from the greenhouse frog. So the possible result should be if the number of the greenhouse frog increases, but the Roman tree frog decreases, so it may imply that the existence of the greenhouse frog has posed a threat to the Roman tree frog. So for this question, one thing I would like to tell you is that now the question is saying that the greenhouse frog, they are the foreign species, and they may pose a threat to the Roman tree frog. So what about we change the question a bit and tell you that some people, they want to protect the greenhouse frog and would like to introduce them in Hong Kong, see that whether they can live happily, healthily in Hong Kong to try to conserve this little creature. But some people, they claim that no, maybe the Roman tree frog may pose a threat to this greenhouse frog as well. So we can do the same thing. And if we really see that if the greenhouse frog and the Roman tree frog, they live in a common habitat, and the number of the Roman tree frog is really increasing, but the greenhouse frog number is decreasing, so it may show that the Roman tree frog is really posing a threat to the greenhouse frog. So it really depends on what is the result and how can we it really depends on the hypothesis, the result, and the conclusion. So in the past, there are lots of long questions about the experiment design, so watch the video and do revision. And for this question, few more common misunderstanding. First of all, unfair comparison. Some students gave the invalid method, for example, comparing the number of the Roman tree frog on two sites, one with Roman tree frog only and the other with both frog species. So these environmental factors of two sites could not be controlled. Maybe the temperature, the wind speed, the humidity, something like this. On site A and site B, they may be different. So therefore, no valid conclusion can be drawn. Secondly, invalid measurement. Some students mentioned to compare the number of the two frog species on the same site, but they were not aware the change in the number over a period of time for comparison. They just say that, oh, we come to that particular habitat and then just like take picture, catcha. And then we count the number, oh, okay, 100 Roman tree frog and then 120 greenhouse frog. And then they may say that, you see, there are more greenhouse frogs than the Roman tree frog. Therefore, we can prove that Roman tree frog are facing a real threat from the greenhouse frog. No, it's still invalid. And for the third one, it's about the inappropriate apparatus. They may say that, oh, we can use the quadrat to count the number of the frogs. However, the quadrat is to use to estimate the number of plants or slowing moving animals rather than the frogs. Because when they jump, and then they may jump out of the quadrat already. So how can you count them? So in a real practice, how can we do the sampling for the frogs? So we can use the deep lead, swept through the water, or we can use the visual count survey, call surveys, when the frogs, when they call at night, quack, good. So we can count the number. And number 4 and number 5, they are similar, egg mass survey and the larva sampling. We can also use the deep lead to collect the egg or collect the tadpole to estimate the possible number, population size of the particular frogs. So let's talk about the curriculum mapping. This question is talking about frog species, and then it can ask you about the speciation or isolation. Maybe the question tell you that greenhouse frogs and the Roman tree frog, they had a common ancestor before. But maybe due to some reason, they are isolated and then evolve separately into greenhouse frog and the Roman tree frog. So they may propose that, oh, for example, how can they call a different, okay, one is quack, one is good, and then actually is a way to attract the opposite sex. So what if they are calling, the sound, the voice is different, so they may not be able to attract the opposite sex. Therefore, they are separate, isolate from each other. And after a very long period of time, they become different species. So watch the video about the speciation for revision. And then this question asks us about the ecological niche and the scientific investigation. For the ecological niche, it's talking about the ecological interaction, especially competition. And what do they compete for? They compete for food, for the shelter, and for 1, 2, 3. And when we are talking about the habitat, so we need to know that how habitat is important for the species. One is food, one is shelter. For what? For survival and also for reproduction. So that's why when we talk about habitat, these two terms are very important: feed and breed. And for the scientific investigation, this question, we keep talking about the same hypothesis. If the Roman tree frog is facing a real threat from the greenhouse frog. After part A and B, we still do not have a valid conclusion. Therefore, we need to design the experiment again and collect the data again and analyze the data and draw a conclusion. And it is the ecological study. One possible question variation is that I may ask you to suggest two nature of science which are demonstrated in the above ecological investigation and explain your answer based on the scientific investigation. And then we combine all the concepts together. It's about conservation, about the biodiversity of different frog species. Any method for the conservation, maybe captive breeding or artificial propagation or the conservation of the habitat. Why do we need to protect, conserve the habitat? For feed and breed as well, right? So after the curriculum mapping, I have a special section for this question. It's about the nature of science and also about this question. So I give you all the nature of science here. And for this question is my favorite question in 2023 paper 1B because it shows us the thinking logic in the scientific investigation. Because in part A, it shows us it seems that there is a possible threat from the greenhouse frog. Ask us to get some evidence from the table. However, for part B, another information, the map is given. However, it seems that there is no such real threat from the greenhouse frog. So after part A and part B, I'm so confused. Is it a real threat from the greenhouse frog to the Roman tree frog? I don't know. I still don't have any idea. No worry. There is part C. Can you collect the data again? Do the scientific investigation again to prove if there is a threat from the greenhouse frog. So you can see the thinking logic. It's just like the debate competition. For and against and then let's do the investigation together. Previously, there are different types of questions about this idea: for, against, and any possible result. So for example, for the 2014 essay writing question, for the lean meat diet, someone claimed that it's useful for losing weight. What is the mechanism behind that? Or some people, they say that lean meat, it may not be able to help us to lose weight. Any mechanism behind that? Or for the identical twins and for the cancer case, so, and both of them, they have the identical genetic composition. So if one of the twins have the cancer and the other twins, he or she should also have the cancer. But why do they suffer from cancer at different time? So can you explain that? Is it for or against? And then you need some mechanism behind that, biological knowledge behind that. For this question, it really shows us the nature of science. So try to answer the possible question variation in the comment section and let's see your concept is clear or not.